Greetings, guys, gals, non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. Something that we all know is that conservatives are painfully unfunny. They have like 3 jokes and they just say them over and over again in a bunch of different formats, and it's kind of embarrassing to watch. It's just embarrassing to watch because it's not even a little bit funny, and I don't understand how anyone really finds it funny. And then on top of the 3 jokes that they have that aren't funny, they just say a bunch of ridiculously insensitive, offensive stuff that has actually no comedic value even a little bit. The punchline is literally just like, haha, you're a minority and I'm better than you. And I don't really understand how that's a joke. But they apparently seem to think that it's really, really funny because they like laughing at the misfortune of others. However, when it happens to them in return, they get incredibly mad. Their response to, us telling them, hey, that's not an okay thing to say. Why do you even find that funny? They scream and cry and call us snowflakes despite them being the ones who are upset. And a massive offender, someone who falls into this so greatly and posts a ton of conservative comedy online, is Babylon Bee. I believe they have all social medias and they post different stuff in different places, but today we're going to be looking at their YouTube channel. They have 1.7 million subscribers, and all of their videos are just like little skits that are under 10 minutes long. They typically sit at 3 to 5 minutes, and they are insufferable. They are insufferable, and they're so offensive that it feels like they're satiring themselves. And it's kind of ridiculous, and like it makes no sense that they are being like actually serious in this humor. Like they are projecting their actual views. And you'll see what I mean in a moment when we get into it. Buckle up, because this is just one big yikes fest. Let's start with this one titled, How to Talk to Your Racist MAGA Uncle This Thanksgiving.
So, you're heading home for Thanksgiving, but your family supports Trump. Not good. Well, you're in luck. Because I, too, am a good person who likes to share my superiority with those around me. Today, we're gonna show you how to talk about Trump with your racist uncle this Thanksgiving.
What I did. I don't have any Trump supporting family because, even the conservatives in my family think he is an absolute tyrant who does not deserve any position of power. But I do around my conservative family members at Christmas, because I have an uncle who's a bit homophobic, is that one Christmas I got a top that said sisters, S-I-S-T-E-R-S, not sisters, C-I-S-T-R-E-S. And I wore that. That was what I did.
First, try slowly and articulately explaining to him how he is a racist, a bigot, a Nazi, and just an overall garbage person. Next, you can help educate your backward, bigoted family members by handing out copies of Robin DiAngelo's White Fragility. This thoughtful holiday gift will endear them to you and open up the door for more conversation later.
I actually think that that's such a power move. I think that's so funny. Like, truly, that's incredibly amusing to me. My family back in New Zealand, we are not people who do big family gatherings. An absolute mess of a family I have back home. So, that's not a thing. And then my family in the UK, everyone here agrees politically. We have no conservatives in my family. So this isn't something I would have ever considered. However, I think there's something so unbelievably funny about having a family dinner where there are a bunch of conservatives, and if you don't give a fuck about what your family think about you and you don't care about ruining the mood or whatever, which I think less people should care. I think this is so funny. Handing out books about white fragility to all of your racist family members at dinner, that's brilliant. That's hilarious. I'm obsessed with it, and I don't think it's an effective method to make them change their ways or whatever, but I think it's funny.
Sometimes your family might disagree with you and attempt to use far-right tactics, such as facts and logic. Counter this with a powerful haka dance.
I love giving books out about like white fragility and oppression and like racial structures, which is all based in actual reality and facts, and then being like, and counter that with facts and logic. Please tell me your facts and logic. Please tell me how racism isn't real. I would love for you to explain to me how it's not real, and not just that you don't want to accept your privilege because it benefits you to be privileged. And then obviously we move into the tearing it up by doing a haka. Fuck you, maybe? Like, I truly, that did not deserve to be the meme that it was, because that was such an impactful moment. And as a Kiwi, it pisses me the fuck off how people just misinterpreted that and just like have completely just turned it into a big joke. And I made a whole video about that, so I don't need to talk about that. But anyway, fuck you for making fun of that.
When your arguments just aren't getting through to them, try screaming at the sky. When you're encountering opinions you disagree with, just run away to a secure location. You might call it a space that is safe. Good luck out there, fellow member of the resistance.
It's so funny because the like screaming at the sky and running away to hide thing is a tactic that conservatives, I think, use, because when they're feeling attacked by like people bringing points to them, they don't know how to counter it, so they start yelling. They raise their voices to be heard because they don't actually have good points to be making, so they're not being listened to. So they just yell because they think that that makes them seem more assertive and smart, which is not how this works. And in general, I think if people are yelling at you and being assholes to you, it is completely valid to walk away. When I tried to have a conversation with my homophobic uncle one Christmas, he kind of just started being like mildly homophobic towards me, and it was making me frustrated, and I like just did not have the energy to deal with him. So then I went to bed. It's not that I conceded the argument or was like upset that he was winning. It's just that I didn't want to deal with his bullshit anymore. So if people are walking away from you and going to a safe space to get a break from you, it's not because you have good points and they feel attacked. It's because you're being insufferable and they need to step away so they don't hit you. Being around family members whom are incredibly frustrating like this and who talk over you and don't listen and are just straight up bigoted assholes towards you or anyone else are incredibly difficult to tolerate. Big family gatherings at the best of times are incredibly stressful. When it comes to stress, a lot of people have a lot of habits, whether it be, you know, sometimes people like to retreat and go spend a lot of money on their phones because they need just like an outlet to get out and go do something a little bit reckless. For me, I go and I spend way too long brushing my teeth, which is terrible for my enamel, but I will brush my teeth for like 10 minutes. And for other people, it can be vaping. If that last one resonates with you, then I would love to tell you a little bit about today's sponsor, Fume. Fume is an award-winning flavored air device that provides you with the same motions as vaping, from the oral fixation to the fidgeting to the hand to mouth movement. But instead of filling your lungs with vapor, it ends at just filling your mouth with a delicious flavor. It fills the void that is left when you go to reach for your vape, but you have nothing there to grab. It allows you to have an in-between in order to transition away from that, because stopping anything cold turkey can be incredibly difficult. So Fume allows you to have that transition where you are still able to reach for something, you are still able to fidget with it, you are still able to have the flavor and the same experience just without doing any damage to your health. It is important to note that Fume does not help with nicotine withdrawal because it is completely drug-free and non-addictive, but it does help with leaving behind those bad habits in allowing you to make your transition away from an addictive, unhealthy behavior into a life without it. Over 500,000 people have already made the switch to Fume in order to break their bad habit. And if you are ready to make that change for yourself, then you can order the journey pack using my link, tryfume.com/queerkiwi, and my code Queer Kiwi, and you will get a free fume topper, which is an accessory for your fume device, with your order. So click the link in the description or scan the QR code up on the screen right now with the code Queer Kiwi to start that journey for yourself today. Thank you, Fume, for sponsoring today's video, and let's get back into it. Freshman brainwashed after just 2 weeks of college.
Well, this is it. First day of college.
We are so proud of you, Jess. Mom, Dad, you're embarrassing me. I'm 18.
Hi, 18. I'm Dad.
Look, I love you guys, but I'll be okay. Here at State Public University of Knowledge, I'm sure to learn a lot of things that help me prepare for the future. Don't forget your Bible.
This is her dorm room, right?
I think so. Hey, Dad. Birthing person. Oh, hey, person I birthed?
The birthing person thing is so funny to me because this goes back to their like 3 jokes thing, right? One of their 3 jokes is just making shit up. One of their 3 jokes is that they don't actually have anything real to criticize, so they take something out of context and make it into something completely different, and it's so funny. And also, like, I have to believe they aren't this fucking stupid. You know, like, birthing person is used as a general term. Like, I don't think I've ever actually heard the term birthing person actually used before. That's not something I've personally heard used, although I don't really see a problem with it when we're talking in like a general thing. You know what I mean? Someone who can give birth. We're not going up to random people with babies and calling them birthing people. We are not calling our own mothers birthing people. We are not referring to individuals as birthing people, just like we aren't referring to women as people with uteruses or whatever. That's not something that is happening. We are not referring to individuals with these inclusive terms because we are respecting an individual's identity. Yeah, you know, like if a man, like a trans man, happened to give birth and wanted to use the name dad for himself, then we would call him a father, a dad. Just like if a woman gives birth and wants to use mother, we will call her mother. We cater the experience to each individual. Actually, like, referring to someone with a name they don't like to their face, that's disrespectful. If you are calling someone birthing person despite knowing that they really would like to be called mother, then you're being disrespectful. No one's doing this. Anyway, I went on a rant for way too long there. That was so unnecessary. It just is so stupid for no reason. Like, I just need them to shut the fuck up for 5 minutes and use their brains, you know?
Are you good? How could I be good when our capitalistic patriarchal systems are crushing the marginalized and oppressed, and our planet is literally on fire thanks to climate change? I am not good.
I'm not good. I'm Dad.
Honey, it's not the time.
All right.
Okay, but she's kind of real for that. Like, they kind of maybe nailed that part just a little bit because, like, yeah, existential dread, man. Ignorance is bliss. This is the thing, right? These, like, conservatives who live in their little bubbles and don't care about anyone else, they are objectively going to be happier, but they are happier at the detriment of other people. I would rather be a little bit miserable all the time and, you know, help people than be really happy at the detriment of others. So.
Is that your Bible? Well, my professor says it's an archaic collection of fairy tales that perpetuate bigotry. Oh, cool. Cool. Do you want to show us around campus? Bet. This is the library. Punch a conservative? Birthing person. I knew you were going to freak out, but don't worry. I don't read books in the library. I mostly come here when we protest injustice.
What kind of things do you protest?
Oh, you know, the fascist takeover of the country, low wages for agender barista queers, the Jews.
The Jews?
My favorite thing about these is that they're making fun of, like, perfectly reasonable things, right? Like, those first 2 protest things, although oddly specific, I feel like it is really good to protest for, you know, fair wages and anti-discrimination. Like, I feel like that is an important thing to protest. And I love, like, just trying to make it sound really niche in order to, like, brush it off as though it's stupid and unimportant when realistically it is an important cause. And then throwing in just the Jews at the end because the creator of this channel is a Zionist. And they think that pro-Palestine means anti-Semitism, which is completely incorrect. And I really need people to stop with that narrative because it is the most infuriating thing in the entire world. And there are a lot of Jewish people who are also pro-Palestine. As soon as you say anything like that, you automatically, once again, you lose the argument because, like, tell me you don't understand anything without telling me you don't understand anything.
You must be Jess's parents. I am her economics professor.
Oh, economics. Good. Like Thomas Sowell?
Who? Oh no, this week we're learning how to destroy the colonial establishment that perpetuates the oppression of the marginalized. Hi, I'm Jess's English professor.
Oh, English. Like Milton and Shakespeare.
Who? Oh no, this week we are learning how to destroy the colonial establishment that perpetuates the oppression of the marginalized. Hi, I'm Jess's world history professor.
Yeah, let me guess. You teach her how to destroy the colonial establishment that perpetuates the oppression of the marginalized.
No. We teach world history.
See, nothing to worry about.
And how to destroy the colonial establishment that perpetuates the oppression of the marginalized.
I'm just so obsessed with how much they hate acknowledging the world around them. I just find it so funny that, like, the comedy they have is making fun of people for caring about things. And I love the whole thing around university, right? Being like, you send your kid away to college and they come back woke. And it's fucking hilarious because what it is you let your kid leave the bubble that you have created and they step out into the world and interact with other people who have different beliefs. And then they educate themselves and have a better understanding of the world around them that isn't completely shielded by their small community. And now they are more aware. And these people are like, there's universities are brainwashing them into caring about things. How dare university educate my child about the misfortune of others? How dare university tell my child that other people are less privileged? How dare university make my child aware of the way the world works? I was perfectly happy with my kid being racist. Now she's not, and I'm upset about it. Like, it's just such a ridiculous argument because, like, hear me out here. No one is actively going in and, like, brainwashing your kid and telling them they have to believe certain things. It's just them learning about the world and applying that to what they already know and expanding their understanding of things. You're just uneducated.
Jess, you've literally deconstructed everything you've ever believed in. I mean, this place isn't educating you, it's brainwashing you.
Jess, there's an oppressed, marginalized, minority person here in the car that needs help. Come quick!
Don't worry, minority person, I can help. I'm white. You can't do this to me. I need to destroy the colonial establishment that perpetuates the oppression of the marginalized. I need to destroy the colonial establishment that perpetuates the oppression of the marginalized.
Welcome to the Masters University. You must be Jess.
And then it was at this moment where I find out that this is actually all just one big ad for a Christian university called Masters College. And that's so funny. That's so funny. This entire ad just being advertising for a Christian university where they just teach conservative values, because, you know, having a general education where you are just learning about the world with, like, no biases, despite what these people say, that's woke nonsense brainwashing. However, going to a university that specifically teaches Christian conservative values and do not stray outside of a very strict guideline of what is and isn't allowed, that's not brainwashing. That's normal.
Are there any questions before we begin the tour?
Yes. Is equity and social justice the foundation for a prosperous society?
A society that puts equality, in the sense of equality of outcome before freedom, will end up with neither equality nor freedom. Thomas Sowell said that.
I think we're in the right place.
Being able to just, like, you know, share things and talk about things and have open discussion that is open and using, you know, real world knowledge. Bad. Brainwashing. Following a very strict guidebook. Good. Not brainwashing. This next one is titled, Trying to Find a Show Your Kids Can Watch in 2025.
What you watching, pal?
Percy Penguin and his friend Peter Penguin are going to the zoo. Isn't it nice to have friends?
It sure is.
Hello, Peter. Would you like to go to the zoo? Yes, Percy. Let's go to the zoo.
But Percy and Peter Penguin have a big penguin problem.
Oh no. What is it?
They fail to ask each other's pronouns and now risk misgendering each other.
Honey,
Personal pronouns
Yes, babe.
are paramount.
this show's totally woke.
Politeness.
The penguins
Peter
have pronouns.
and Percy
Yeah, usually there's this thing called the English language, which kind of means that we all have pronouns. We all have pronouns. Characters in TV shows have pronouns. Characters in books have pronouns. I have pronouns. You have pronouns. We all have pronouns. They're kind of an important part of the language. And I do love when people seem to forget that. They're like, oh my god, the penguins have pronouns. Yup. I expected them to, actually. Yeah, I know. If you're gonna be trying to be upset about the fact that a penguin is asking for another penguin's pronouns, at least state that that's the problem. Being like, the show is woke, they're asking for each other's pronouns. Not just the fact he has pronouns, because you'll lose that argument, because they typically do. If you want to find a show that doesn't have pronouns, you're gonna be looking for a while. I also just love this argument in general of like these conservatives being like so mad when people ask pronouns or like say you should ask pronouns. Firstly, this isn't being included in kids shows. Most people are not asking pronouns unless they are like in a situation in which they feel it may be necessary. Most of the time you're not asking pronouns. If you get a pronoun wrong, you are corrected, you carry on. Sometimes you do ask, whatever. But regardless of anything, I really don't understand the big deal. Like, who cares? Asking pronouns takes like half a second. And then you get your answer and then you carry on. Like, it truly does not impact your life at all. At all. I do not understand the problem with learning that. And especially when these conservatives are the ones who get so hurt over being misgendered. Like, they don't even like it if you misgender your dog. They don't even like it if you misgender their dog. You misgender a conservative person's dog and you can get yelled at. You can misgender it like a baby. They will get so mad at you. They're like, how dare you misgender my child? How dare you misgender my dog? But also they don't want you to ask pronouns. Like, which one is it, bro? Because I promise you, like, trans people getting misgendered, it can be annoying, but they're usually like, oh, by the way, these are my pronouns. Everyone's like, oh, okay. And they carry on. They don't have a whole like screaming fit like you do when someone misgenders your dog who doesn't care about gender and has no concept of what it is at all. So if anyone should be needing to be asked pronouns, it is you. Because you're the real snowflakes about this, so.
The important part is that this is woke. This is woke nonsense.
I'm so tired of this. Is there anything that Wesson can actually watch? There was this Facebook mom group, and they were talking about this show that sounded kind of interesting.
Sometimes I feel sad because people make fun of me for being the Asian. Why do they have to have races?
That's
They're
not
puppets.
nice. We should all love each other.
They're all part of the same race. They're part of the puppet race.
Whether we're Asian or normal.
I can't believe a group of moms on the internet were wrong.
Asian or normal is crazy whack. That's crazy whack. And also, I'm sorry, you can't tell kids not to be racist now. We're not allowed to tell kids not to be racist. That's too woke. We're anti-racism now. We're just meant to let kids, be racist, apparently. We're not allowed to tell them that's not okay. It's so funny because, like, I love that they wouldn't have a problem with it if it was, like, a pink puppet and a green puppet. And it was like, hey, you can't be mean to me because I'm green. Like, that's the exact same thing. That's just an analogy for racism that's being told through a different means. So, like, that's fine, but as soon as you actually use real-life language, suddenly it's woke? Are you just stupid and don't understand analogies, or do you just think that kids should be racist towards Asian people?
Hi, friends! I'm Miss Melanie. Let's learn together. Today, we're gonna learn about shapes and colors.
This is great.
And we're also gonna learn about how climate change is gonna kill us all.
Oh, okay.
Climate change, climate.
Wait till you find out that climate change has been taught for a really long time, and there have been lots of movies and TV shows made for kids about it because kids media exists to teach children lessons that are important in ways that are easily digestible, and climate change is a really important thing to learn about. I don't understand the problem with kids knowing about climate change.
Guess who? Now with all 437 genders.
Do I have your consent to kiss you?
Can you help me find this fascist?
Be like that.
All cops are down to talk masculinity!
That's it!
Oh no!
I'm sorry. Pause. Okay, we are channel surfing and crossing everything off the list for being too woke, right? Firstly, all of this was completely harmless, and you are being ridiculous for not wanting your kids to learn about real world things that exist in the world in a very child-friendly, consumable way. Like, people exist. I think learning tolerance is important. I think, like, learning about the world and the people you meet in the world is important. But most importantly here, I'm sorry, someone asking for consent is too woke? That one really definitely is the most concerning out of all of those. We're scrolling, we're channel surfing, and you see someone say, "Do I have consent to kiss you?" And that's terrifying. We need to change it. The way it should be, what we should be showing kids is a man coming and kissing a sleeping girl. That's what we should be showing them. As soon as you're asking for consent, that's not appropriate for children. You're really showing your hand with this one here. Yeah, don't teach children consent. That's too woke. I don't want you around children. This ends with advertising a YouTube exclusive kids animated show called MechWest.
Do you miss the glory days of kids animation? Family entertainment should be entertainment about storytelling, not political messaging and social programming. Meet MechWest,
which is the slowest releasing show of all time. Episode 1 came out over a year ago. Episode 2 came out 3 months ago. And episode 3 is not out yet. So obviously it's really keeping kids' attention. But I did watch the first episode, and I find it so funny because this circles back to the puppet thing of, like, if it was a pink puppet and a green puppet, then, like, you can talk about racism because they're not directly talking about races. And that's kind of what this show is, in a way. This guy talks about it like it's an unwoke show. It's good storytelling and it doesn't have political messaging, which, firstly, all art is political, whether you want it to be or not. I clicked on it thinking it was going to be, like, conservative political, but it's just the same shit. It's just a classic ass fucking kids TV show where nothing is really different than any of the other shit they were showing. And it's so funny because, like, I just truly, I feel like they don't understand, like, metaphors and analogies even a little bit, because what this show is about is there is an oppressed race, or in this case they're robots, they're mechs, and everyone is cruel to them. They are using them for services, but they aren't paying them. They push them around. They abuse them. No one cares about them. And then there's this one girl who does. She comes in and she loves the mechs. She wants to look after them. She hates that they're treated so poorly. And there's this little one that's, like, run away and escaped, and she wants to look after it and keep it safe. Everyone else thinks she's crazy and doesn't understand why she cares about these robots. Like, why do you care? But she is, like, keeping this one safe and protecting him from being abducted by oppressors. She is keeping him safe from being oppressed and being taken away and taken advantage of and abused. And, like, I don't understand how you can watch that and be like, this isn't political. It has no political messaging at all. It doesn't cover issues like racism and oppression and power dynamics and government, etc., when that's literally the entire foundation of the show. Like, use your brain for 5 seconds and understand the purpose of kids' television is to teach them things about the world. That's literally the purpose. And now just sometimes it includes gay people because gay people exist, and it's telling kids that, like, gay people exist. You're gonna go outside and see gay people, so, like, it makes sense you're gonna see them on TV. it's not woke for people to exist. And this show that you're showing your children is political. You're just an idiot and don't understand how anything works. This next one is titled, How Video Games Are Made in the Current Year.
Jumpy runs, jumps, collects stuff, and beats bad guys. Simple family fun.
I'm Leslie Perkins, she, her, and I am here to make sure your game is as diverse and culturally sensitive as possible. I love the way your guy, he just jumps and everything. But there is just one tiny little thing. Instead of a hamster, let's make him a strong woman of ambiguous ethnic background. That's like an instant positive review in Kotaku.
This is so annoying. Like, you have enough, okay? Like, you have enough. I'm sick and tired of these men, these, like, cis-het men sitting here and being like, they're making all the video games woke now. I can't even play any video games because there's always women and there's always, like, gay characters and there's like trans characters and like people of color. It's disgusting. Why are there no games for me anymore? Everyone's always making games for minorities because they have to fit to the diversity quota. No one even wants to make these games. They're just being forced to by the DEI. Everyone's just being forced to make woke games. No games are good anymore. Shut the fuck up, bro. Oh my god. No one is making these characters to spite you. I promise, because believe it or not, not everything is about you, and not everything is about you, because you are not the target demographic of every single thing to exist. I know that you have spent your entire life as a cishet white man having everything catered to you. I know you've spent your whole life being the center of the entire universe. You've had everything handed to you. You are the star of all the movies, of all the games, of all the TV. Like, you have always been represented. So the second anyone gets even a smidgen of that, it feels like a personal attack. And it's so funny because, like, firstly, gay people make games. Women make games. People of color make games. So they're going to be making games that, they want to play, that represent them and the stories they want to tell. So, you aren't the target demographic. You don't have to play it. 50% of people who play video games are women. So, I think that they actually deserve to have 50% of video game characters being women. And that is very much not the case. And I find it so funny that these white men, these cishet men, are like, they're the ones who sit here and talk about how diversity ruins everything, how representation ruins everything. It doesn't matter. We're all so whiny and like, why do we care? Representation doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if there are like women main characters or gay people. Like, we're doing it just, because we have to, because we want woke points. But the second that they have one thing that isn't about them, it's world ending. So they very, very clearly understand representation. But the second it's not them, it doesn't matter. Because cishet white man is the default. That means that anything that isn't that is woke. So, if it's anything but themselves, then it's woke. And like, why does everyone care so much about diversity? No one cares, except you. Except you. You care very deeply because you boycott anything that isn't revolved around a man. So that's you very much caring about representation. How to avoid harmfully stereotyping a Muslim immigrant who is assaulting you.
There is a deadly plague sweeping over Great Britain. If it is not stopped, we might lose our homeland forever. This terrible disease is bigotry. Here are just a few helpful tips to help you avoid the stain of bigotry whilst you're being raped, stabbed, or blown up by Pakistani migrants.
We're like 30 seconds in, and this is already one of the most racist things I've ever seen in my entire life. Jesus Christ. Okay, what are they gonna say?
When an Islamic migrant approaches you and begins repeatedly thrusting a knife into your torso or face area, remember this. White British citizens sometimes stab people too. While the attacker stabs you, close your eyes and try to picture him as a white male. This simple meditation will help your bias melt away like clotted cream on a toasty, crumpeted tea time.
Like, this is so absurd obscenely racist that it feels like they're satirizing themselves, right? Like, this feels like they are making fun of conservative racism. And they're not, though. Like, this is their actual comedy and, like, humor, and they think that this is, like, reflecting society. Like, there are comments being like, I'm British and this is too true, so right. And, like, oh my god. Like, I also just, like, the fact they just truly do not understand anything about anything we're saying because they love to be racist and Islamophobic is astounding. Because, hey, fun fact for you, we know criminals exist in every race and religion. There are people in every demographic that, you know, cause harm to people. That's true. And no one is saying that being harmed by a minority means you cannot ask for help or just tolerate it because white people do harm too. You just can't blame the fact they are of that ethnicity on the fact they're violent. You just can't be like, oh, of course they stabbed me because they're Muslim. You can't just, like, use racial bias to hate them because that's not the reason they stabbed you. They hurt you because they're a bad person, not because of their ethnicity. The thing is that this is not a race or religion thing. This is, like, a person thing. It's only a problem when you make it about their ethnicity.
If you are a woman, always remember to wear modest clothing. Ideally, clothing should cover your legs, your ankle, your face, your eyes, and everything else. Failing to wear the proper attire could lead to men of undetermined religion and national origin succumbing to their baser instincts, making you a target.
This is actually sickening to watch. Like, the fact that these people sat down, wrote this script, made this video and uploaded it and thought it was fucking hilarious is horrifying. It's horrifying. And the fact this has 600k views and 50k likes, like, what in the ever-loving fuck is going on?
Avoid regressive and offensive British terms, such as Cheerio, codswallop, or throw a wobbly. Instead, use more inclusive terms, such as Allahu Akbar, or Allahu or Death to Israel.
This is, like, the most racist thing I've ever seen in my entire life, and I truly, truly do not understand how they sat here and made this and posted it online and managed to get this much attention and love for it. Like, the fact that so many people are this hateful is horrifying and disgusting, and just, like, I truly just don't understand how it's funny. You know, like, I don't get where the humor is in this, because, like, straight up just being racist and Islamophobic, like, that's not a joke. That's you being a bad person. You're not actually making fun of anything. You're just straight up being an asshole. You're just, like, straight up being a terrible bigot. Like, there is no joke here. Jokes actually require people being in on the joke. Making fun of people in a, like, deliberately very harmful way is not a joke. It's so sad that conservatives don't know how to, like, laugh with people. They don't know how to actually have fun. They only know how to cause harm. And the only thing they find funny is causing harm. If the joke you are making, if the people who are the target of your joke aren't laughing, the joke's not funny. Everyone has to be in on it for it to be a good joke. If you are, like, hurting someone and, like, they aren't finding it funny, then it's not a good joke. And, like, I really need these conservatives to understand that, because you're not funny. You're just a terrible person. This one is called Meet LAFD's First Paraplegic Firefighter.
The reality is that you're not one of the boys who have legs. You'll never be one of the boys who have legs. If you're also a member of the legless community, you want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's medical call or fire call, somebody that looks like you and also doesn't have legs that work. I was the first paraplegic person to be promoted to the rank of battalion chief. With each promotion, more eyes come on you, more scrutiny. They want to know, does he know what he's doing? Does he keep his crew safe? Can he get into a house that has more than a moderately sloped ramp?
Once again, circling back to, like, what we were saying in the video game, one, I love white men. I love cishet white men complaining about representation. Like, they're complaining about diversity. They're like, why does everyone always get a medal for like doing stuff? Why is it that like if you were the first person of this to do this, you get awarded with something? I don't understand why everyone wants representation. I don't get why everyone needs to see themselves somewhere. It's ridiculous. And so they make up a fake scenario to prove a point when like no one is asking for there to be paraplegic people in the fire department, because obviously there are job restrictions where like sometimes restrictions are necessary in order for like health and safety reasons. There are going to be limits to what certain people can do because of the abilities that they have. No one is denying that. So creating this video just for the sake of being ableist and making fun of like wheelchair users is also like creating it just to complain about representation and complain about the fact that like people get awarded for being the first to do things. Okay, listen, sir, I understand. You want a medal too. It's like they look at this and they go, well, I've been doing that for a long time. So like, why does this person in particular get like noticed for it when I don't? It's like because they've had to overcome barriers to get here, whereas you've always done this. Being the first like person of color, the first disabled person, the first woman, etc., to do something is important because it means that finally people are allowing them into this field, because we have been shut out of this for such a long time. The fact that it is 2025 and there are still like the first blank to do blank happening is astounding. People should have already been able to do things by this point. Like, there's no celebration of when white men do it, because white men have been doing everything for forever and are the reason why no one else has done anything. If you want a medal and a clap and a pat on the back and a fucking cookie for being the first cishet white man to do something, go be the first cishet white man to do something. Don't stand here complaining that other people get applauded for their accomplishments when you've done fuck all to accomplish anything ever in your life. Like, if you want to be congratulated as a white man who has contributed something to society, go contribute something to society. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. If you don't want to do something groundbreaking and like break barriers and be the first person to do something, you obviously don't have to. But like, you seem to really want to. So like, what's stopping you? You're just making fun of other people who can do it because you won't. If you want a pat on the back, go do something worth being pat on the back for. So what we have established here is that Babylon B is a place of nightmares. Conservatives aren't funny. They are the most easily offended group of people on the planet, and they take anything that is like not handed to them freely as like the biggest offense of all time that they have to spend hours whinging and crying about. And it all ends up here with Babylon B making ridiculously unfunny, offensive content that astounds me that anyone finds enjoyable. If you enjoyed this video, please do let me know. Leave a like and a comment to tell me what you think. Also, don't forget to hit subscribe. I'm trying to hit 500k subscribers by the end of the year, and I so greatly appreciate any interactions that you make on this video. I upload 3 times a week, every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I would love to see you again soon. So yeah, don't forget to hit subscribe. A massive thank you to my Kiwi Cat patrons: Stella, Trippy Day 27, Bay the Trucker, Chastity, Beckett, Prismatic PT, LJ James D, MA Ping the Games, Blaze, Uh-Oh It's Craiglow, Phil the Duck, Jesse A, River, Queen Glimmer, Ella, Lady Nutbar, Mr. Noodle, Radsack, Knitting Menace, Samuel, Chris, Ellie, Alexis, and Bobby. I love and appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for joining. If anyone else would like to become a patron, you go to patreon.com/savvycat or click the link in the description. Another thank you to Fume for sponsoring today's video. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Keep fighting. I love you. Mwah. When you close your eyes, you replace